Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of history's most fascinating and, frankly, intense legal texts, the Laws of Manu. We're talking about an ancient, incredibly detailed blueprint for how to structure an entire society.
I mean, think about it for a second. If you had a completely blank slate, how would you design the perfect society? What would the rules be? Who does what? And how on earth do you make sure everything stays in order, from the cradle to the grave? It's a huge question.
Well, it turns out, thousands of years ago, a text called the Manusmriti, or the Laws of Manu, tried to answer exactly that. It lays out a complete, top-to-bottom blueprint for a social order. And crucially, it presents this order not as some human idea, but as a divine, unchangeable reality. So how does this blueprint actually work? Well, it all starts with a very clear, very rigid social structure, a hierarchy that was believed to be set in stone by the gods themselves. So you might ask, how do you justify a system like this? Well, according to the text, it's not a human invention at all. It comes directly from the Creator. This quote here says it all. The Brahmana, or the priestly class, supposedly sprang from the Creator's mouth, the highest point, which gives them the divine right to be the lord of this whole creation. And here you can see the whole system laid out. These are the four main social orders, or varnas, and their jobs are tied directly to where they came from. You've got the Brahmanas, from the mouth, who are the teachers and priests. Then the Kshatriyas, from the arms. They're the warriors and rulers. The Vaishyas, from the thighs, are the merchants and farmers. And finally, the Sudras, from the feet, whose one main job is to serve the other three.
Now, this is a really crucial idea. This division isn't just about jobs, it's about spiritual status. The top three groups are called the twice-born. You see, they go through this special sacred ceremony that's considered a second, spiritual birth. And that rite is what gives them the exclusive right to study the sacred texts, the Vedas. It's a fundamental line in the sand separating them from the once-born Sudras.
Okay, so we've got the big social map. But the laws of Manu go way, way deeper. They spell out the specific duty, or dharma, for every single person. Your personal conduct is regulated based on your exact spot in that social structure.
And when it comes to the role of women, the text is, well, it's incredibly specific. It's unambiguous at all. As you can see from this quote, the code says a woman must never be independent. She is to be under the protection of a man her entire life. First her father, then her husband, and if her husband dies, her sons.
And it gets even more detailed. For a virtuous wife, the duties are clear. Her husband must be worshipped like a god, even if he's not a great guy. Her own spiritual practices, like fasting, are tied to him. And if he dies, she must stay chaste. The payoff for all this, according to the text, is a high place in heaven.
Okay, so you have this incredibly intricate system of rules, but who makes sure everyone actually follows them? That massive responsibility lands squarely on the shoulders of the king, who's seen as more than just a ruler. He's the sacred guardian of the whole code.
And this isn't just any king. The text literally describes him as a great deity in human form, made from bits and pieces of the gods themselves. And his main job? It's not about conquest or wealth. His primary sacred duty is to protect this entire social order, the Varna system.
And how does he protect it? Well, it all comes down to one thing: punishment. In this text, punishment, or danda, is everything. It's not just a part of the law. The text says that punishment is the law. It's the one thing that holds society together and keeps it from falling apart into chaos. So, if punishment is the law, how is it carried out? You might think it would be the same for everyone, right? Well, not quite. In this system, justice is explicitly and fundamentally different depending on your caste. Just take a look at this example for theft. It's pretty striking. A Sudra who steals something gets a fine of 8 times its value. But a Brahmana who commits the exact same crime, he could face a penalty 64 times the value, or even more. The logic here is that with higher status and greater knowledge comes greater responsibility. So when you mess up, your guilt is considered way, way bigger.
And we see the same logic pop up again in the laws about adultery. The punishment is all about the caste of the man involved. For the exact same crime against a high-caste woman, a Sudra could literally be put to death. But a Kshatriya, he might just get a big fine. The law isn't just about punishing the act. It's about aggressively defending the hierarchy itself.
All right, so let's pull all of this together. After looking at this incredibly detailed ancient blueprint, what are the main takeaways? So, to recap, first, society is seen as a divine hierarchy, the Varna system. Second,
Every individual's life is all about their specific role and duty, their dharma. Third, the law isn't universal. Justice is fundamentally built on your caste. And finally, the whole thing is held together by the king, whose sacred job is to protect this order, using punishment as his main tool.
Now, obviously, the laws of Manu were written for a world that is very, very different from our own. It's a product of its time. But it leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. What echoes of these ideas? Ideas about social order, about assigned duties, about justice being different for different people, can we still see in societies all around the world today?